Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Okay, in today's video, we are going to be talking about 10 common items in your bathroom that you do not need. Listen, I did this in the kitchen, we did this in the living room, we talked about things that you don't maybe need. Now, as always is the case, if you love these things, keep them in your home. I don't know you, I don't go to your home, there's no need to freak out about it, okay? But these are items that you may not like, or may not, you may not have given a second look, but you might need a nice, lovely friend sitting here in his living room anonymously tell you that you need to get rid of some of these things. So some of these are decor, some of these aren't, but it's just a gentle reminder that it's maybe time to go through your bathroom with a bucket and chuck a lot of this stuff out, or donate it, or recycle it. I don't care what you do with it, just get it out of your bathroom. Okay, first up on my list is gonna be soap slivers. I'm not a bar soap person. I think like millennials don't really like bar soap. I think I read an article that was talking about generations and their preferences when it comes to soap. I don't like bar soap in general. I know it's self-cleaning, but I just don't love it. But you know, I'm a body wash person, a soap pump person, but I will say a lot of you are bar soap people, and that's great. But say it with me, when the bar soap is like so far gone that it's barely hanging on and it is but a whisper of what it once was, it is time for it to go. These things, they never actually completely disintegrate. They always get so small and so little that they either fall and flush down the drain accidentally, or they end up actually being thrown out, or worst of all, which might be what you're doing, they stack one on top of each other to the point where you've got like 6 different soap slivers packed in that little tiny dish that sits in the side of the shower there. That is not particularly helpful. I would say that when these get a little bit low where they're just no longer useful, they have clearly done their job. It is time to be thrown away. If they're covered in hair, if they are so small and ratty that they're barely hanging on by a thread here, I think it's just time to go in the garbage or dispose of them down the drain or whatever you need to do with them. But use them as much as you can. Obviously, we're not talking about throwing out perfectly good stuff here, but we are talking about when they get so low that they've overstayed their welcome, it's time to go. Okay, next up is gonna be excessive travel-sized toiletries. Yes, I think that there is a purpose to holding on to some travel-sized pieces that you can use and have like a to-go bag ready to go. I do find that travel size, they're like too much plastic for what they're good for. I bought a travel-sized deodorant thinking like, oh, I'll bring a travel-sized deodorant when I go to Europe. I was there for 2 weeks and this thing barely lasted me a week and a half. I had to go in Europe and buy myself another deodorant because it didn't last that long. So sometimes I think travel size are just a ripoff. There, I said it. Procter & Gamble, it's Johnson & Johnson, it's Big Pharma. Yeah, like Big Pharma really cares about travel size toiletries, that's their game. But you know what I mean, right? Like these things are a ripoff, you probably don't even need them at all. But let's say you've got some excess, like little tiny cool little toothbrushes or the little toothpaste that they give you at the dentist. Those are fun. Some of those expire and some of them you've held on to for a really, really, really long time. And especially if they like came with you on a trip and then you brought them back, like they're just taking up a bunch of clutter. There's just a lot of space. And yes, I think probably what you're better off with, which is probably what I'll do going forward, is just buy those little things that you get on Amazon and stick to like the basics of what you need. Your face wash, you need your whatever, you need your stuff, and that's fine. But a lot of these travel size stuff, either you like a half full little tiny baby speed sticks deodorant or something like that, it's just taking up way too much clutter in your space and you probably don't need it. Honestly, question even buying travel size at all. For the record, like a regular size deodorant stick doesn't take up that much space, that much more space than a travel size one. So like use your best judgment here on whether or not you need it at all. But a lot of these things, the little tiny toiletries, the travel size, the ones you get at the dentist, whatever, they're just clutter, they expire, you're not using them, you've held on to them for 7 years, it's time to go. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be the end of the bottle of any shampoo, body wash, whatever you've got. There is a point where it's time to let the bottle go, right? And it's time to say that it's given all that it can, right? It's like squeezing out a slice of lemon and there's just no more juice left in it. And that's sometimes the case with some of these body washes. If you find yourself for multiple days, maybe not once when you're in a pinch, because you got in the shower and you were like, oh my God, there's no more body wash left. And you might rinse it under the shower head to get that last little bit out. You got one time you do that. You do that once when you realize like there's nothing left. You have one extra like bonus shower that you can use out of that body wash. And then after that, it's time to recycle it and get a new one in there. You know, I think sometimes I question hygiene when multiple days go by where you're rinsing out the same bottle. There's no soap left. You're just rinsing yourself with water at this point and people are gonna start to say something. So I think that a lot of these shampoo, conditioner, conditioner, you name it, all the different toiletries that you might have. When they get to the bottom and there's no use case for them anymore, it's time to go. Hand pump soap, same story, okay? If you're doing this and it's not coming and you just like, you just keep pumping and it's just not coming out, okay? Then now we're talking hygiene and you need to start actually washing your hands properly. Did we learn nothing from the pandemic or whatever, right? Surely we're a little bit more aware of germ theory at this point, you know, in 2025. So, you know, get those things refreshed. And when they get really low like that, you get that one bonus use that I will grant you. And then after that, you're done. Okay, next up on my list, and this is very similar to the travel size one, but it's gonna be samplers, sampler products. I'm not a beauty influencer, obviously. I'm not trying to claim to be, and I don't get like stacks of PR like some other beauty YouTubers get, but occasionally some samples cross my way, and I gotta say, like, I don't use 95% of them. Now, that's obviously a me thing. You probably don't get sample stuff, but you probably still do get sample stuff when you go to Sephora and they just like give you extra stuff, or Kiehl's where they're just like, did you want some sample packs of eye cream? And you're like, well, I guess so, throw it in the bag, I guess. And before you know it, you realize you don't actually use that stuff. Or you used it once, it made you break out, and then you have like a couple more samples and you just like held on to them, even though it didn't work for you the first time. So why do you think it's all of a sudden gonna change this time? So go through, you know, all those old Ordinary products, the old little samples of Drunk Elephant, whatever you got over there that Sephora gave you, it's maybe time for those things to go. And if you do get PR packages, because you are a beauty influencer, you have a lot more stuff you probably need to get rid of than I'm here to tell you about, but you're probably not. I don't think like, is that, what was that, Michaela, whatever her name is, the one who has that arguably fake like New Jersey accent? Maybe she watches my channel, I'm not sure. Anyway, the point is all these samples, they just accumulate, you just get them. Sometimes they're just like free gift with purchase, and you get all these little samples that you probably never use because you buy the same products every time, because you know they work, because every time you go outside of those same products, you break out. So now you're sticking to the regular ones, but you still get these little samples that you swear you're gonna use one day and you never do. Get rid of them. Ask a friend if they want them. You know, they can have it and see if they break out and see what happens to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's probably a better solution than hold on to these in that vanity for literally years. Maybe it's a Boston accent. And maybe, I don't really know, to be honest. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be expired sunscreens. Sunscreen expires. I have a friend, Laura. Hi, Laura, if you're watching. She doesn't watch my channel. None of my friends or family watch my channel, to be honest with you. I'm like, did you see my videos? They're like, but I don't really know what they do for a living either, so I'm not really gonna get mad at it. Anyway, Laura though is a real stickler for expired sunscreens. She's constantly checking my sunscreens to make sure. She's like, Nick, this one expires in a month. And I'm like, is that really a thing? I think she's probably right. I think when you're playing with sunscreen, which is like less of a like beauty thing and also more of like a health thing, like don't get skin cancer thing, then I think it's probably best to play by the rules. And you probably have some expired sunscreen sitting in there because you only use it, especially if you live in Canada like I do, we're really only using sunscreen, like the actual sunscreen stuff, like 4 or 5 months out of the year. Let's be honest, probably more like 2, July and August. Let's be real, that's like actually where we get hot weather. Now, I still believe in an SPF to put in your daily moisturizer. Of course, that's not what I'm talking about, but I do think those like the sunscreen sprays and also the creams, even though I'll be honest, I'm just gonna say, I don't think the sprays really work. Like, I don't think they actually really work. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, I start with the cream and then I think it's good to top up with the spray, but I don't think they actually really work like we think they do. So just a little side rant there. But I do think that a lot of them are expired and they're sitting in your vanity and it's time to let them go, because if they're expired, they just don't work anymore. They're not gonna be as effective. I'm not a dermatologist here. I don't claim to be a lot of things on this channel. I don't even claim to be a designer, to be honest. I don't claim to be anything. Definitely not a dermatologist. Do not come here for sunscreen advice, but I do think it's fair to say that you shouldn't be applying expired sunscreen. I feel confident in that one. So get rid of those and get some new ones. Get the 3-pack from Costco. It's the best deal, to be honest. Okay, and then next up on my list is gonna be empty vitamin and medicine bottles. So sometimes we hold on to these because they're like a perfectly sized container. You know what I mean? Oftentimes, like those little tiny baby Advils that you bought from a travel sizer, and you're like, oh, that's gotta be good for something. You know what I mean? Like, that's gotta be useful at some point in my life. I can't think of what it is, but there is going to be a time when I'm going to need a tiny, tiny little prescription bottle for something. Maybe I'm traveling. Maybe I wanna fill it up with something. Like, I don't know, maybe I've got supplements, my omega-3s that I wanna bring with me when I travel. You probably don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, you probably are never gonna use those. So I would say go through that medicine cabinet that you have. Take a look at all those expired oftentimes, or just like regular old medicine things that are empty that you think you're maybe gonna use. You think they're your travel size, you think you travel more than you probably do, and you're thinking this is gonna be useful at one point. It's like an old iPhone 10 box that you've been holding on to. You don't need it. You think you need it because it's a really high quality box and it's like a really useful little size travel thing. You're like, oh, that's gotta be used for something. It's not. You haven't used it in years. You probably don't need it. Time to recycle it, get rid of some of these things. And as I said about about a sunscreen. Same applies for medication. I feel confident in this one. Again, I don't claim to be a doctor, but I do think expired medicine is probably a problem for you. So you probably need to get rid of it. They're just less effective and arguably dangerous. I have no idea, but it can't be good for you. Let's just start there. So let's, you know, get rid of the expired stuff, get rid of some of the empty bottles. You'll be good to go. You'll thank me when you do. You'll just feel lighter. Your bathroom will feel lighter and you'll have less clutter and less crap sitting on your countertop. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be hair ties. Now I'll be honest, I don't have hair ties, to be honest. And I am also gay, if you didn't know, and therefore I don't have women that live with me, and therefore I don't really know very much about hair ties. But from what I understand, going to like friends' bathrooms sometimes, you'll have way too many hair ties. I don't think you need that many. It's like the elastic band example that I gave on the living room thing, where you have like 400 elastic bands because you think you're maybe gonna need them, and you don't. You need like 10, maybe 5. You don't really need that many. Same applies for hair ties. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, in the comment section, or gentlemen that use hair ties because you have longer hair. I'm obviously, like, whoever you are, I don't know. If you're using hair ties and you want to use them, then great, fantastic. Obviously they're a useful little tool, I guess, for people to use, but I just don't think you need that many, because sometimes it's like there's a lot of hair ties there. It's just like there feels like there's like 65,000 hair ties in people's houses, and I just don't really feel like you need that many, especially the ones that are broken and frayed. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't care to be a hairstylist or a lot of anything that's truly helpful to society, but I will say that this feels like something that you probably don't need as many of as you think you do. And you definitely don't need like the old and frayed ones that are really honestly quite gross because they have like a lot of hairs and stuff trapped in them. This feels like they should be refreshed. Is this a hygiene thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, how many years can you hold on to these before it's just time to let them go? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert, but probably less than you think. Okay, next on my list is gonna be hairstyling tools. Now, I also don't use a whole lot of hairstyling tools. But I do know that some people have an obsession and they have a lot of them. And listen, if you use them every day, great. If you use them once in a while for special occasion, that's great. They might have a use case. I would recommend probably storing them not on the countertop, because you probably don't need to look at them every single day if this is like a once in a while occasion situation. It's kind of like how I feel about kitchen countertop appliances, which you all know I love. If you use them every day, like a toaster every morning, then fantastic, then leave that out. But if it's your like Instant Pot that you don't use every day, and you maybe use that like once every 3 weeks, or maybe you bought, like I did, into the like a Nova sous vide situation, and you've just got way too many of them, just got too many kitchen countertop appliances, and you're like, I don't sous vide as often as I think I would, store some of that stuff. Same with hairstyling tools in the bathroom. If you don't use them that often, store them. If you do use them every day, feel free to display them nicely or organize them nicely in an area that makes sense and is convenient for you to use on the daily. I will speak to the fact that hair styling tools seem to really work in trends. Some of them seem to be really popular for a while, and even and this is not my typical content that I consume on the FYP, on TikTok, on Instagram things, but I will say that there seems like there's a lot of new tools coming out. Temu is always trying to sell you a new way that is easier to be able to achieve some sort of chic new look that is all the rage. And these things work in cycles, because trends usually do. And so I think that some of these tools probably aren't needed anymore. So, you know, maybe if you don't use it every day, or you don't even use it once in a while, it's probably maybe time for you just to kind of let it go. But at the same time, I mean, the scrunchie came back, so maybe like, what the hell do I know? Okay, and then next up is gonna be like hair dye and bleach and all the tools that it comes with. They provide you with so much. When you buy like a hair kit, they give you the gloves, they give you the wiping little creams, they give you little multiple bottles, because oftentimes you're concocting it yourself, maybe a little brush in there to like get it all going. There's a lot of stuff going on in that toolkit, which is a problem, because you may find yourself holding on to all those pieces that you just don't need anymore. And you use it for the kit, and then you don't need them anymore. You don't need to hold on to those latex gloves forever if you didn't actually use them, or the wipes that they give you, or what have you. So yes, use the kit when you need it, go for it, go nuts, and then package all that stuff and get rid of it, which is what it's actually meant for. You don't need to hold on to all those little trays and little dishes and little brushy things or whatever multiple times. You can just hold on to the one that they gave you in the kit and then let the rest of it go. Okay, and then last up on my list, and probably the most important, well, except for some of the expired medical products that you probably need to refresh, but the one that I think a lot of people are really guilty of is gonna be old, ratty, oftentimes stained towels. Towels are something that should be refreshed more. I'm not gonna say how often, but I will say it should be more often than once every 35 years, which is probably how you're refreshing your towels. Do you know what I mean? Towels are used to dry your body. They are used to dry your hands. They're used to dry all sorts of things. They're very, very useful, but they oftentimes lose their absorbency. They oftentimes get stained. They oftentimes get bleached. They have all sorts of problems and therefore probably need to be refreshed with some new ones. Some of the brands I love, not sponsored, just saying. I mean, IKEA is great for affordable towels, let's be honest. I also really like Brooklinens. I also really like this new company, Droplet, that they sent me some stuff and their stuff is really great as well. I would prioritize, here's my thing about towels though, more loops. I like loops on towels. I've said this before and I don't know why they don't put loops on towels enough. There's very often I wanna hang it up on a hook and it frustrates me to no end when I have to balance it and then it falls on a sad, you know, pile on the floor, and then I get really upset. So always put loops. If you're a manufacturer of towels, because I'm sure they're watching all my content, please put loops on all your towels. But apart from that, I do think you need to, wherever you get your towels, because CB2 has great ones. I've bought towels from everywhere, to be honest, and towels are kind of sort of towels. Well, no, there's good ones and there's bad ones, let's be honest. But I would say there are lots of really great ones out there. So buy towels wherever you need, but I would refresh some of the old towels that you've had. This is the problem. When you're just adding good on top of bad, when you buy new towels and but you don't throw out the old ones, that's when you start getting a little cluttered and you start getting way too much and your towels are really disgusting and you should probably refresh them, get rid of the old ones, get the new ones. Now, I said this before when I was talking about linens in the kitchen, which is that there's lots of different sort of charitable organizations, dog shelters, pet shelters, cat whatever, SPCA, I don't know, all the different rescue organizations, whatever. They are oftentimes in need of towels and sheets and things. So if you are getting rid of them, call them first. But I always like to say call them rather than just show up and be like, Nick Lewis told me that you need 400 towels from my from my linen closet. No. Nick Lewis did not say that, because then they're gonna go, who is this guy? We do not need any more towels. So call them first to verify, but yes, donate them is always gonna be the preferred option because, well, the dogs and cats don't care that your towels are 35 years old and stained. So, you know, that's a great option for you. So that is it for this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm gonna link here to my living room items that you might not need. I also did kitchen, so we're gonna link to that one. So go check out both of those videos and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot, bye.